Okay, let's start with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadkamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Satam Sajivam साधवेतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहागणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तु ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो
फिर
नमः
उठना पड़ेगा फिर
हरे
इसका मतलब
कृष्णा
भाग में।
कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य ईश्वरं गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः हरे कृष्णा. Okay, so we'll get started. So we are reading Sri Isopanishad. We have reached mantra 14 today. And if you remember the sequence, 12, 13, and 14 go together. I hope everybody is on the same page with this concept. Mantra 9, 10, and 11 were going together because they were talking about the concept of Vidya and Avidya. And 12, 13, and 14 are discussing the concept of Sambhuti and Asambhuti. Okay, so many new terms are being introduced in Sri Isopanishad, and you will see the intelligence of our scriptures that the definition of these terms keeps changing according to the context in which they are being talked about. That's why we need the proper purports of our acharyas to understand this. If somebody just read the mantra and try to understand the meaning based on their knowledge of Sanskrit, then they will not get the correct idea. They'll be confused. Okay. So just to briefly give you an idea what 12, 13, and 14 are talking about, and then we will recite them and read their translations. So mantra 12 introduces the concept of Sambhuti and Asambhuti. Here you see in this line, Andham tama pravishanti ye asambhutim upasate. तो यहाँ पर संधि हुआ है. So because of that sandhi, because of joining, asambhuti is written as sambhuti, but they're talking about asambhuti here. Ye, you can see here Prabhupada has written it as asambhuti. So people that worship asambhuti enter into the darkest regions of ignorance. Okay. Tato bhuya ivate tamo. But worst are those people, even worse than those that worship asambhuti, worse are the people who worship sambhuti. Okay. So what is this sambhuti and asambhuti? Asambhuti, people are entering into darkness, but even worst is the destination or gati of people that are worshipping sambhuti. So what is asambhuti and what is sambhuti? Let's discuss that. So asambhuti refers to anything that's temporary, that is material, that is part of this world. For example, it can be the body, it can be the material world, it can be different type of living entities, demigods, any species. They're all asambhuti. So amongst all the asambhuti, we worship demigods. That's why asambhuti here refers to demigods. So it is condemning, this verse is condemning the worship of demigods or Devi Devtas. It's saying it's not the best. But there is something that's worse than that, which is the worship of Sambhuti. Sambhuti refers to something that is eternal. So like spiritual world, spiritual skies, and most importantly, the Lord. So, meaning it refers to absolute. It doesn't refer to temporary. Asambhuti is temporary. Sambhuti is eternal or absolute. So that's where the confusion will be. If you just read Sanskrit, you'll be confused. Okay, so if I worship something temporary, it is not good, it is bad. But if I worship Sambhuti or absolute, eternal, it is even worse. What are you talking about? So then Prabhupada gives us the understanding that when we say worshipping absolute or Sambhuti is bad, it's worse than worshipping demigods. It This is when you worship the impersonal aspect of the Lord, because Lord is unlimited. He has many different aspects. He has a personal form. He has that beautiful Shyam Sundar form that exchanges pastimes in Vrindavan, that comes to perform various leelas here on the planets. He's the one that you can have reciprocations with, you can have loving relationships with, right? So that's the personal form of the Lord or Bhagwan. But then he has some other aspects like his Brahma Jyoti or Brahman, which is impersonal aspect of the Lord. People that only worship the impersonal aspect of the Lord, that focus on this Brahma Jyoti of the Lord, they're trying to merge into this Brahma Jyoti. Those people are even worse than those worshipping the demigods. Okay. And I have already spent 2 classes on details of demigod worship versus impersonal worship. So I think we need to move on today, but I have some slides which will cover those concepts again today. Basic understanding is that demigod worship, even though it is condemned, it is still within the Vedic umbrella. It is still within the Vedic realm of knowledge. It is meant for people with lower consciousness, so people on the lower rung of the ladder, but it is a means for their advancement. So people that are submitting to demigods are actually taking shelter of someone above them. They're taking shelter of another servant who is superior to them. So they're recognizing somebody's authority and they're actually subordinate to them and worshipping them according to proper rituals mentioned in the Vedas. So they are protected by the Vedas. And these servants, these demigods, will then make it their responsibility to deliver the soul and take them to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So one day, demigod worshippers will come to the platform of the worship of Supreme Lord. So that is how they are. This, even though this is meant for lower people, it is still okay. It is not that bad. But impersonal worship or worship of impersonal aspect of the Lord is more condemned because it is a little bit selfish. In that, this person just wants to escape the miseries of this world and he does not want to serve anyone. At least the demigod worshipper is serving the demigod, right? And he's following proper rules, rituals, and following Vedic authority. This person just wants to merge his identity into Brahman. He is not hankering for any seva. So there is no love, there is no seva, there is no exchange of emotions or loving relationships, right? So in lack of any love, any seva, these people actually are considered more selfish. They have a worse destination because they will take ages to come back to the uh, platform of bhakti. It will take them many, many more lifetimes than a demigod worshipper to submit to any authority. So impersonal path is actually more condemned than the path of demigod worship according to this verse of Isopanishad. Then mantra 13 talks about, now the definition of asambhuti and sambhuti will
कितने
change.
बजे आ रहे हैं वो लोग?
So in this next verse, Sri Isopanishad is saying that when you worship sambhuti or when you worship asambhuti, you will get different destinations, different results. Okay, you don't get the same result. Some people say कुछ भी करो एक ही, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, एक ही result मिलता है. Lekin Prabhupada tells in the purport, he gives this analogy: if you bought a ticket for Calcutta, then you will reach Calcutta. If you bought a ticket for Mumbai, then you will reach Mumbai. So it's not like you can get anywhere with the same ticket. If you're worshipping demigods, just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, if you worship demigods, then you will go to their planet. If you worship ancestors, then you will go to their planet. If you worship ghosts and goblins, then you go to those people's planets. Anyone knows where Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita? Anyone knows that verse from 9th chapter? It comes right before Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Hint, hint. The verse before that. So I always keep alluding back to Bhagavad Gita because all these, because Bhagavad Gita is our, book of basic elementary knowledge. It has all the fundamental concepts that are coming in other scriptures. Other scriptures are giving more details, but Krishna has given everything in concise form in Bhagavad Gita. So the verse I'm referring to is 9.25. It says, Yanti deva vrata devan pitri yanti pitri vrata bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajino pimam. That if you worship demigods, you will go to their planets. If you worship ancestors, forefathers, you will go to those people's planets. Bhutani, if you worship ghosts and goblins, then you go to those planets. But if you worship me, Yanti Mad, if you worship me, Yajanopi Mam, then you will come to me, Mam, me. So Krishna Loka, which is Golok. So basically different results are obtained by different types of worship. Now we come to the verse for today. Let's read, recite this, and understand it. Okay, Isopanishad, mantra 14. Sambhutim cha vinasham cha.
Sambhutim cha vinasham cha.
Yastad vedo bhayam saha.
Yastadedo bhayam saha.
Vinashena mrityum tirtva.
Vinashena mrityum tirtva.
Sambhutyamritam ashnute.
Ashnute.
And I've mentioned this before, but the verses 9, 10, 11 are very similar in Sanskrit to verse 12, 13, and 14. So just the 11th and 14th verse are almost exactly same. This second line and last line is exactly same. So based on that, you remember what was the verse 11 talking about? That Vidya and Avidya both should be understood together, right? Verse 9 said that Avidya is bad, but improper, misguided Vidya is even worse, right? Then verse 10 said that both Vidya and Avidya will take you to different paths, different destinations will be achieved, different goals will be achieved. Then the verse 11 said that both should be understood simultaneously, right? Now this, so 12, 13, 14 also flow in the same way exactly. Sambhuti and Asambhuti, they said Asambhuti is bad, but impersonal Sambhuti worship is even worse. Then it says, then it changes the definition of Sambhuti and Asambhuti, and they say they take you to different paths, different destinations are achieved, and then they say we should understand both together. Okay. In verse before this, the definition was changed. Did you understand that? That when we talked about Sambhuti and Asambhuti, now we are saying Asambhuti refers to anything material. Sambhuti refers to Supreme Lord. So when you worship Supreme Lord, you go to Supreme Lord's planet. When you worship Asambhuti or this things of this world like demigods, then you go to their planet. So now Sambhuti was referring to Supreme Lord. And now verse 14 is saying that we should understand both of these together. Okay, let's read this translation. Who wants to read this?
I can read.
Avni wants to read.
Yes, Avni. Go ahead, Avni.
Okay. Translation. One should know perfectly the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna and his transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes, as well as the temporary material creation with its temporary demigods, men, and animals. When one knows these, he surpasses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it, and in the eternal kingdom of God, he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge.
Very bold. So this verse is saying one should know Krishna and his name, form, qualities, pastime, right? This is Sambhuti. Everybody agrees? Sambhuti means Krishna, anything eternal. Krishna and his name, form, pastimes, qualities. As well as we should understand Asambhuti. Asambhuti refers to anything temporary. Prabhupada uses this word ephemeral. Ephemeral also means temporary, something that's short-lived. Prabhupada's, again, English is very wonderful. So your vocabulary improves by reading Prabhupada's books. So temporary material creation also we should know. We should know the demigods in it. We should know about men. We should know about animals. And when one knows both of these, right, we should know both of these. Then you will surpass this death and the ephemeral manifestation, meaning this temporary world also you will surpass, you will overcome, and you will reach the eternal kingdom of God. So Sambhuti, you will reach Sambhuti. Amritam Ashnute. Amrit means that you will enjoy eternity, bliss and knowledge. So deathlessness, you will enjoy truly the deathlessness, bliss and knowledge you will enjoy in the eternal kingdom of the Lord, Sambhuti. So now let's hear from everyone. A lot of times, just like right now we are reading Bhagavatam, okay? We are reading 3rd canto. There are many details of material world given in that 3rd canto. And sometimes I think, why are we reading so much about material world? It's not like we know that we have to get out of here. Do I need so much information about this world? Can you all, each of you, give me like one example? You have all read Bhagavad Gita. We have finished Bhagavad Gita chapter 1 to 18 completely. Give me some knowledge of this material world that Krishna has given in Bhagavad Gita. That is actually helpful for you to go beyond it. You can cite a verse, you can give me a concept, a principle, you can give me the name of the chapter. And if you want to give an example, I can give you some example.
Sri Krishna?
Yes.
I can start.
Yeah.
Devi yesh gurnai mamaya durataya. Which was it? Mamaya durataya. I'm forgetting the next
Mamevye
one.
prapadyante
Mamaya
maya
prapadyante
metam
maya
taranti.
metam tarantite. Yes.
Yes.
So
So
in
what
this
I'm
one,
asking,
Krishna is saying that this material world is very difficult to cross, this material ocean, but we can cross it if we take shelter of Krishna.
okay, yes, perfect. So he's saying this material energy is very difficult to overcome. But what I'm asking is, Krishna has given a lot of knowledge of this world. Like, I'll give you an example. Krishna has taught us about 3 modes of this material nature, right? In chapter 14 and many other places also, he has given us complete knowledge of 3 modes. Someone will say, if I know that I have to understand devotional service, why do I need to know the details of everything, right? I need to know passion and ignorance and this goodness. Why do I need to know so much detail? Like the whole chapter is dedicated to basically the workings of material world. So there are so many other also knowledge Krishna has given throughout Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of material world. And it makes you think, why are we learning so much about material world? And this verse is also saying that you should actually know about material world. So one example, just like I gave, like Prabhuji gave, that material energy, inferior energy is very strong. Then I gave an example, 3 modes of material nature, extensive details of that in Bhagavad Gita. Where does he introduce the concept of material energy or inferior energy in Bhagavad Gita? Which chapter talks about that? 2 Shaktis of the Lord. You can unmute and answer, Agni.
Is it chapter 9?
Little
is it
before.
Chapter 7.
Chapter 7.
Chapter 7.
Chapter 7. Para and apara.
Knowing the absolute, yes.
And then what else? Then Krishna talks about various annihilations that happen. He talks about how this is dukhalyam, how this material world is full of misery. He constantly talks about the cycle of birth and death. He constantly talks about the influence of time in Bhagavad Gita. What is all this? This is all material stuff, right? Influence of time exists in material world. 3 modes of material nature exist in material world. Inferior energy is material world. Dukhalyam is this material world. What else? He talks about avidya. He talks about ignorance all the time. He talks about different desires of people. He talks about various elements. 7 elements, है ना? So like this, throughout, Krishna is teaching us about this material world. He talks about the 4 miseries, the birth, disease, old age, and death. He talks about the 3 kleshas. What are the 3 kleshas? The 3.
Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Atmik.
Yeah, right. So why all this? Why
And
do
he
we?
also, sorry, Mataji, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please. Do.
No, Mataji, he also talks about how to control the man, the sensual man. That's a very important thing in this material world. That if we do that, then only the next stage is possible.
Exactly. So since we are
Yeah.
stuck here in this material world and we don't want to get out of here, the first step is to understand the nature of this world is not compatible with our nature. It is to understand that we do not belong to this world. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna focuses so much on the material world. That's why the chapters about very pure bhakti are just chapter 9 and 10. Very scattered verses. He does not give details of his names, forms, qualities, pastimes. That is why we say Bhagavad Gita is the first book. Then we say Bhagavatam is the next book, because in Bhagavatam the details of pastimes with relationships with devotees and all come. Now we are talking about more pure bhakti. That is why we say Bhagavatam is a book of divine love. It is a book only of Ananya Bhakti and Kevalya Bhakti. In Bhagavad Gita, actually, the verses talking about Kevalya Bhakti or Ananya Bhakti are very few. It is mostly talking about how we are trapped in this world and we need to get out of here. So this is important for us to understand, क्योंकि हमारा मन तो इस दुनिया में रमा हुआ है ना. पहले कृष्णा को हमारी यहाँ से अटैचमेंट तोड़नी है. जैसे मुझे शुरू में किसी एक ने पूछा था कि कृष्णा बोलते हैं दुख हाल्यम ये वो, तो हमारे लोग ऐसे बोलते हैं कि तो बहुत ही ज्यादा डिप्रेसिंग है. हम भगवत गीता पढ़ने से पहले तो हम बड़े इंजॉय कर रहे थे, हमें बड़ा खुश थे, अब हमको डिप्रेशन सा फील होता है. But that is the whole point. You should feel discouraged and disappointed by this world. You should develop that detachment from this world. You should understand that you are the diamond that is thrown into muddy waters. You should understand that this is muddy water. So he's describing to you कि ये muddy water है and you are the diamond. तो इसलिए we have to understand the nature of this material world of asambhuti. Now people are so sincerely engaged in demigod worship. So Krishna spends so much time. In which chapters of Bhagavad Gita? He spends many verses. 2 chapters. Who can name those 2 chapters of Bhagavad Gita where he spends many verses talking about demigod worship, condemning it? How it's for Alpamedisha, Buddhaya and all this. Who can mention the 2 chapters of Bhagavad Gita where in sequence Krishna has mentioned?
Is one of them chapter 16?
16? I don't think so. So before you said chapter 9, एक तो chapter 9 में there are many verses, और दूसरा जो प्रभु जी ने बोला था chapter 7 and 9.
Chapter 8 is one, also attaining the supreme, but I think in that also he mentions about the demigod worship.
Okay, I'm not aware of 8 में, but he talks about influence of
be
time
wrong,
in
yeah.
that, like a cycle of birth and death and Brahmaji's duration of life. But in 7 and 9, there are in sequence many verses that talk about. Why? Because he's trying to break our attachment to these elements of the material world, because people are so focused on their name, fame, power here that they want all these things from demigods. So they're very sincerely engaged in demigod worship. So he's just introducing these concepts to them. Hey, this is dukhalyam. Hey, this is not your world. And then he gently keeps saying, every now and then he keeps saying, but come back to me, come back to me. So this is not, so all that Bhagavad Gita is doing is breaking your attachments from material world and asking, Krishna is asking, come back to me. So he has not given descriptions of spiritual world, right? Like in Brahma Samhita, you get detailed descriptions of a spiritual world, कैसे चिंतामणि jewels हैं, और दूध की नदी है, या घी के ponds हैं, या cows हैं, या कल्प वृक्ष हैं. All this is not given in Bhagavad Gita. So that's why Bhagavad Gita is the start into self-realization, to understand who the real self is, and this position is very incompatible with my nature, that I'm spiritual being and I'm stuck in a incompatible position. This is material world. I'm not meant to be here. I do not belong here. That's why, so we understand the cause of our bondage by understanding these aspects of material nature. असंभूति को समझने से आप संभूति को समझने की कोशिश करते हो. So then you have a hankering to read Bhagavatam, you want to understand spiritual world, you want to get into the details of the Lord, his name, fames, qualities, pastime. And then Chaitanya Charitamrita में और details like वो कैसे, like आज जगन्नाथ रथ यात्रा का दिन है. So, you get into the details. 100 साल बाद, after 100 years of separation from Brajvasis, Krishna went to meet Brajvasis in Kurukshetra on the day of solar eclipse. They all met there, and Radharani was there. And she looked at Krishna and she thought, this is not my Krishna. This is, he's not dressed like a gopa. He has this turban, and where is the peacock feather gone? This opulent turban I don't recognize. He has a sword. He has all these arms and soldiers. Where are the cowherd boys, and where are the cows, and where is the stick? जो गोपास की स्टिक होती थी, उसकी जगह ये तलवार क्यों है? हाथी घोड़े कहाँ से आ गए और गाय कहाँ गई? So Radharani is thinking, if only I could put him on the cart and take him back to Vrindavan with me. And that is the mood of Jagannath Rath Yatra, right? So they just, Radharani and gopis are all thinking, looking at Krishna, if he could just put him on the cart and drag that cart back to Vrindavan and take him back to the same forest, then we can have the same pastimes that we used to have. So who gives this? Even Bhagavatam does not give this description. Who gives this? Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this mood of Rath Yatra, what is the mood of Rath Yatra? Rath is going from Sri Mandir, from Nilachal to Sundrachal, from Jagannath Puri temple to Gundicha temple. What is Gundicha temple? This is Vrindavan. And what is Jagannath Puri? Dwarka. We're taking Krishna from Dwarka to Krishna in Vrindavan to serve him, because that's where we can best serve him in all the rasas. Dwarka mein the rasas are very limited. The opulence is supreme. So in that awe and reverence, devotees don't want to worship. And Jagannath Ji's opulence is very wonderful in Jagannath, but devotees don't want to worship him like that. They want to take him to Gundicha and worship. So that's the Jagannath Rath Yatra. So all these details and so intricate, confidential details are given. And then in the further, so when devotee becomes purified, completely detached from material world, from asambhuti, he wants to go into details of sambhuti. So this is, this is how beautifully our scriptures are arranged. I wanted to show you a PowerPoint that I had. Anybody else wants to share anything before I show that? Nagarjan Prabhu, are you sharing something? Or Sheetal Mataji, I thought I saw on mute. Any, Prabhuji, Ravi Prabhu, Anand, not Anand Kishore, sorry. Nagarjan Prabhu and Sheetal Mataji, anyone wants to share anything before we?
Mataji, I was just going to say the same thing. It was Dukkhalaya Shashvatam. You were asking about the material world.
Yes. And there are so many other things I've of course not, मतलब भगवत गीता में material world की बहुत details हैं. तो अभी भागवतम के initial part में भी भगवत इसकी material world की बहुत details हैं. And I often think कि why do we need to know so much? But I always get the same answer from seniors that Krishna wants you to understand, who that supreme personality is that you're worshipping. He rules this material world. So this is verse 12, Sambhuti versus Asambhuti. So it says, Devata worshippers enter the planet of Devatas in the darkness and ignorance, and worshippers of the impersonal enter even a deeper state of darkness. So we should know these definitions, at least by the end of Sri Isopanishad study, we should know this definition. Sambhuti refers to absolute personality of Godhead, something that is independent of everything, that does not depend on other things. Asambhuti has no independent existence. It depends on the supreme, on Sambhuti. So Asambhuti depends on Sambhuti. It is not independent. So just like demigods, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that whatever results they're giving to you, they're giving by my sanction, and they're also given by me, right? They're also given by me. And whatever offerings you're given to demigods, those offerings are also reaching me only. So you're doing it very indirectly. So you're doing it avidhi purvakam, he says in Bhagavad Gita. तो अब गलत तरीके से क्यों कर रहे हो? Directly क्यों नहीं करते? Right? So he says that. And then Then the next verse talks about different destinations of worshipping Sambhuti versus Asambhuti. So if you worship Asambhuti, because you're worshipping something temporary, you will get a temporary destination. If you worship Sambhuti, then you will get a permanent destination. So you will go to temporary planets of this material world, but you will still be stuck in the cycle of birth and death. तो इसमें हमने एक एग्जांपल लिया था ट्रेन का कि कोई ट्रेन के एसी डब्बे में भी बैठ जाए लेकिन वो डेस्टिनेशन पे तो उसी टाइम पे ही पहुंचेगा राइट तो बस he will be able to enjoy more. So people in higher planets have better body, better faculties or facilities for enjoyment, but still they are not reaching the goal. They're still stuck in the same train as the people on the lower planets. So we have to advance from Devata worship to Krishna worship. So instead of asking Devatas for temporary benefits and temporary destinations, we should ask Krishna for eternal destination and eternal benefit of getting out of here. So ye Sambhuti hai, spiritual sky, which is outside of the this material world. Now, who knows how big is the, like, what is the proportion of material versus spiritual sky? Prabhupada has given it in
3:1.
Say that again, Prabhuji.
I think Avni is saying. Avni, you go ahead.
I think I'm not ठीक बोला. I just didn't hear properly.
3:1. 3/4 is spiritual world, 1/4 is material world.
But is it not 1/3 and is it?
Yeah,
1/3.
1/3.
1/3 है कि 1/4 है? एक पाद विभूति and three पाद विभूति ऐसे बोलते हैं ना? हाँ 1/4 नहीं ठीक बोल रहे हैं प्रभु जी 1/4 and 3/4.
1/4 and 3/4. Yeah.
The spiritual
1/4
sky is three times the material sky. जो material cloud होता है, that is हाँ तो
Correct.
yes, out of
Correct.
4 हो गया.
हाँ.
Yes.
ठीक है so
Yeah.
out of 4 yeah 1/4 and 3/4 so 1/4 को बोलते हैं प्रभुपाद ने इस purport में दिया है ये जो हम 14th verse पढ़ रहे हैं in this purport Prabhupada gives a Sanskrit term for this it's called ekpad vibhuti and 3/4 he calls tripad vibhuti. So material world is actually very small compared to the spiritual sky. So we think there are so many planets in material world, but actually in spiritual sky there are numerous unlimited planets. Just like there are unlimited universes here, but spiritual sky is even bigger. So actually there are many more liberated souls. There are many more free, not free, but you can say siddh jivas than compared to the baddha jivas. So conditioned souls or baddha jivas in this material world are actually less. So we think, everybody's doing the same thing. Maybe I should also do that. But actually, there are many more people that are worshipping the Lord in the spiritual sky. So we should follow them because they are much more. So if you really wanted to be in the rat race, so at least run with the right crowd. So then run with the right crowd. So, and then Prabhupada had talked about pseudo-religionists in the previous verses. He says that undisturbed people have said this. Dhir Purush have told you this. So don't understand this knowledge from pseudo-religionists. So we had taken this in detail last time. Who are pseudo-religionists? Those are the people that are actually in the name of teaching you spirituality or religion are actually deviating you from the path of true surrender and true devotion and just teaching you bogus things, and so you're still trapped in this material world. So don't so always learn from the authoritative acharyas, people that are not teaching from Guru Sadhu Shastra or not teaching from scriptures. One need not be if they've concocted their own philosophies and speculative theories and whatnot, we don't need to adapt those theories and things in our life. जैसे किसी ने एक एग्जांपल दिया था कोई भी नाम जप कर लो क्या फर्क पड़ता है सब एक ही हैं नहीं लेकिन सब this verse is telling you verse 13 that actually you will get different destinations based on what names you are chanting. So okay this is something I wanted to show you. A lot of times we think that okay Vedas have talked about demigod worship or they have talked about some worship of they have talked about mukti, they have talked about impersonal worship also. So is that that's part of the Vedas too, right? But you have to understand that the knowledge, this is the ascending order of the knowledge. Just like I was mentioning, more deeper and deeper knowledge is being given as we go further into scriptures. Vedas is applicable to people of all types, all consciousness. So different paths are given for purification of different types of people. Some people are very lower in consciousness. They may have very animalistic propensities. They're not able to purify themselves. So they have been given a different process of purification. So Vedas caters to many different type of people. So Vedas will engage you in demigod worship. Karm Kand and demigod worship or ritualistic worship is very prominent in Vedas actually. तो वैदिक नॉलेज में काफी ज्यादा रिचुअलिस्टिक वर्शिप आती है. इसको बोलते हैं रिलीजियस मटीरियलिज्म. मतलब टू फॉलो अ रिलीजियस पैथ फॉर अ मटीरियलिस्टिक पर्पस, लाइक कि किसी डिजायर को पूरी करने के लिए, किसी इच्छा पूर्ति के लिए रिलीजियस पैथ को फॉलो करना, दैट इज व्हाट वेदास इनेबल, रिलीजियस मटीरियलिज्म. इसलिए चैप्टर 2 भगवत गीता शुरू में ही कृष्णा ने बोल दिया था कि कर्मकांड का पैथ फॉलो मत करो. So religious materialism is what Vedas teach us, ritualistic worship, and that is okay for a vast majority of people actually, because that's what they need right now to purify them. इसमें एग्जाम्पल ऐसे आता है जैसे कि कोई स्मोकिंग करता है. So if somebody is smoking 1 pack of cigarettes, we tell them to cut down to half a pack, right? It doesn't mean that half a pack of cigarette is good. It doesn't mean, oh, this doctor is saying that start smoking half a pack of cigarettes. No, if you're smoking only 2 cigarettes a day, that's not what we are saying, that you start smoking half a pack. For that particular person, cutting down from 1 pack to half a pack is good. Now, if somebody is smoking half a pack, they need to cut down to more. We can say, okay, just smoke, 4 cigarettes. जो 4 कर रहा है, उसको बोल रहे हैं 2 करो. Right? जो 2 कर रहा है, उसको बोल रहे हैं 1 करो. So like that, based on that person's level, we are giving the knowledge. So Vedas are giving karm kandi or materialistic religiousness to people who are on that level. It does not apply to devotees. It does not apply to devotees of the Lord. It does not apply to people who are in higher consciousness already. So Upanishads, जैसे Bhagavad Gita is one of the Upanishads, that takes you to the next level. So in between, impersonal worship is also mentioned, where mukti is mentioned, but it is just a path. It is not the destination. It is not the goal. And then Bhagavatam gets more and more pure and gives you bhakti. So आगे आगे जा रहे हैं, धीरे धीरे ऊपर बढ़ रहे हैं. So हम religious materialism से मुक्ति की तरफ और मुक्ति से भक्ति की तरफ जा रहे हैं. These are just some verses. So Sambhuta refers to Supreme Lord. And this, we said Janmadhyasya, we discussed this before. Janmadhyasya is the Sambhuti verse, which gives you all details of Supreme Lord, how Supreme Lord is completely independent. He's Swarat, he's Abhigya, he's knower of everything. He bewilders all the demigods also, and he's always performing his leelas in his eternal abode. So in this way, he's the only one that remains after annihilation. So Sambhuta is like that. So then, okay, we talked about how if we worship one versus other, we get different destinations. So this is important. All paths do not lead to the same goal. This is a foolish theory. Depending on the desire of a person, they will reach different destination. If I want to go study in the library, then I will end up in the library. If I want to go pray in the temple, then I'll end up in the temple. If I want to go dance in a discotheque, then that's where I will end up. If I want to, whatever. So different people, according to their desires, Krishna says, I will provide them what they need. So all paths do not lead to the same desire, same goals. Krishna does not interfere with our free will. So if I'm worshipping a certain demigod, I have complete faith and dependence on them, then that's where I'm going to end up. Even within Sambhuti, even within the worship of the eternal, do we get different destinations or no? Did everyone understand that question? So Sambhuti and Sambhuti lead to different paths. We understand that. Within Sambhuti worship also, we get to different paths. Yes, who understood that question and who can answer that?
Yes,
Bhagwan.
Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, please elaborate.
Say, for example, if I worship Lord Ram, then I'll go to the Ram Dham. I won't go to the Gokul Dham because I want to be with him. So if I worship the Narsingh Bhagwan or a Vaman Dev, then I can go to their planet, not the Gokul Dham. So the question is, in the Sambhuti also depends on where I want to serve, and that planet I will go depending on my intention, my my deity that I'm worshipping.
Yes, 100%. So Krishna is not, like, we all have free will. Krishna does not interfere with our free will. We all have certain propensities and certain desires in which we want to serve the Lord. Some people want to stay in this world and enjoy. Krishna is not going to hinder with that desire. Okay, you want to enjoy, then you stay and enjoy. Similarly, he talks about body also. You want to eat a lot. That's how you have exploited this body, by eating a lot. Then next life you get an elephant body so that you can eat a lot. So just like in a Sambhuti versus Sambhuti, you get desires according to what you want. Within Sambhuti also, because Krishna is unlimited, he can fulfill desires of his devotees according to how they want to worship him. Some people want to worship Lord Ram because they're Ram Bhakta. You can't force Hanumanji to worship Radharani and Krishna. No, you cannot force a Krishna Bhakta to worship Vaman Dev. No. So that's rasabhas. Everybody's in different mellows, different moods, different ways. Some people want to serve, and then with different rasas. Like somebody wants to worship Lord, serve Lord as a parent in Vatsalya Bhav. Some wants to play with him. Like there is a devotee who was sharing. I knew from my childhood, even when I was not on the path of devotional service, I knew that I wanted to play with Krishna. I knew I wanted to play with Krishna. So when I came into ISKCON and I understood that actually I can one day play with Krishna, that is what sold it for me. So somebody really wants to play with him. So, somebody wants to steal with him. Somebody wants to serve him like a manjari or like a gopi. So there are different bhavs also. Like if my job is that of a doctor, how can you force me to work as a lawyer? I will fail at that. So Krishna does not interfere with our minute desires, with our minute independence, with our free will, and he fixes that particular desire in our heart in which we start serving him. Actually, he makes that determination strong, it is said. He says that in Bhagavad Gita also. If you want to go to a certain Devi Devta, I will leave you alone and let you worship him properly. So you have strong desire to actually go to him. ताकि जो काम कर रहे हो वो दिल लगा के करो. So he does not interfere with that. He's not like, we are not, we are his servants, but not slaves. He does not treat us as slaves. तो servitude जो होता है, servant और slave में क्या difference होता है? Servitude जो होता है, servant जो होता है वो voluntary होता है, वो अपनी इच्छा से होता है. Slave जो होता है वो अपनी इच्छा से नहीं होता. So Krishna doesn't want us to be his slaves. He wants us to voluntarily be his servant. So this you have to understand. So ऐसा नहीं कि रोबोट की तरह हम वो चला रहे हैं, इधर जाओ उधर जाओ. नहीं, जो रास्ता तुम पकड़ोगे उस रास्ते के हिसाब से you will reach the destination. This is the verse I was talking about, 925. So then Prabhupada says in purport, जिसने कलकत्ता की टिकट लिया वो कोलकाता जाएगा, ऐसे मुंबई थोड़ा ना पहुंच जाएगा. उसका मन था कोलकाता जाने का. He had some plans there. उसको मुंबई क्यों लेके जाऊंगा मैं? So this is not Krishna stays aloof. Krishna does not interfere like that. So and then Prabhupada has talked about Acharya and hearing in Parampara. Then your faith becomes perfect. And okay, Sambhuti word comes from Sambhavat. So in purport, Prabhupada has given all these references of how Krishna is the supreme cause or Sambhavat. Sometimes people question this. So if you want, you can take a picture of this. Where does it say that Krishna is the source or cause of all causes, or Supreme Lord? So like, for example, you know all this verse, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhav samanvita. So everybody, I think, knows this verse from Bhagavad Gita. You all know this verse, Brahma Samhita, right? Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Like that, Prabhupada has given other references also where it is said that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Okay, sorry, this I will skip. Can anyone guess? Okay, just looking at the screen, can anyone guess which chapter of Bhagavad Gita this is from? I'm trying you to not forget Bhagavad Gita because that's our fundamental book, so keep remembering it. First verse of which chapter Arjun asked this question from Krishna? Who is better, personal worship or impersonal worship? Kis chapter mein pucha tha? अर्जुन ने फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन पूछा था।
फिफ्थ चैप्टर में था क्या?
कौन सा?
फिफ्थ में था क्या?
मैं इतनी जल्दी कैसे आएगा?
अच्छा, ओके।
I think chapter 4, Mataji.
नहीं, ओके।
नहीं,
अब शीतल माता जी बताएंगे, शी विल नो।
Mataji, chapter 8.
नहीं, ओके, सो दिस इज चैप्टर 12।
9।
दिस इज
सबका
चैप्टर
15 तक तो पहुंच ही जाएंगे।
12। सारे के Chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. The first question Arjun asked was, which worship is better, personal worship or impersonal worship? है ना? Do you remember? Almost 5-6 verses Krishna talked about who is better. So next, personal devotee जो worship करता है, या impersonal meditator जो अक्षरम अव्यक्तम, अक्षर मतलब जो unmanifest और impersonal form की पूजा करता है. Which one is better, bhakta या ये? So Krishna had told him that actually in next verse only, from verse 2 to 7, he had said that people that worship me with ananya bhakti, with shraddha se jo upasana karte hain meri, those are best. So he had very clearly mentioned that my devotees are the best, not the impersonal
Which
worship.
chapter is that? Klesha Adhiktarastesham?
And this only,
Avyakta Chetasham?
this only, it's coming. See, I'll show you this one.
Okay.
See, you want to recite it?
Sure. क्लेशो अधिकतरस्तेषाम् चेतसाम् अव्यक्त ही गतिर्दुःखं देववादभिरवप्यते.
Yeah, so klesh hoga.
What number is
log.
this?
This is 12.5, number 5.
Thank you.
So impersonalist, why some impersonal absolute is not recommended? Because Krishna himself condemns it in Bhagavad Gita by saying it will be, it's full of klesha, it is full of difficulty. Avyakt, jinka man asakt hota hai with avyakt, with impersonal. So it is very difficult. Avyakt hi gatir dukkham, their gati is very dukkham. Jabki remember, for us, what did he say? It's a process of, it's a joyful process. For bhaktas, he had said it's a joyful process, right? Whereas for him, for impersonalists, they're saying, Krishna is saying, avyakta hi gatir dukkham. It's a dukkha wali gati. So impersonal gati we don't want actually, because it's a difficult path. The destination is lower destination. It's not topmost destination. And the path is also difficult. So na process acha, na destination achi. Why would we do that? So the road is difficult and the destination is bad. Why would I go there? So in this, the road is also good and the destination is also good. That's where I want to go. So, so look at this slide, these 2-3 slides. I often think of this. When you worship a deity or when you worship Lord, with this mood, you develop such love for him. You want to have a relationship with him. You want to render service to him. You want to render service to devotees. This is a very delicate, very gentle, very soft-hearted mood. So personal worship of deities, of devotees, of Guru, of Tulsi Maharani, of Govardhan, of Dham, this actually makes you very soft-hearted. This actually makes you very gentle, very patient and forgiving and tolerant and all these nice qualities that Krishna likes. Whereas impersonal worship, where I just want mukti, that is not a very palatable path. So this path, this is very wonderful, this is very joyful. And think about it also from another perspective. जैसे आप सब लोग parents हो, आपके बच्चों को, जो आपका बच्चा बना है, जो आपको he is having loving wonderful relationships with you, the parent would himself guide that child. So Krishna is our supreme father. He keeps saying that also in Bhagavad Gita. He is the supreme father. If you decide to establish a relationship with him, then how much he will guide you, just like you want to guide your child. You want to really care for him. You want to protect him, shelter him, teach him, nourish him. So if you invoked that, established that relationship with your supreme father, how much he would want to do for you. Right? Jabki impersonal worship mein, there is no such relationship. You're not establishing a relationship with the Supreme. So Krishna personally protects his devotees because they are like his children. Imagine if your child was in trouble, how much you would suffer, how much you would want to protect him. Imagine how Narsingadev became so angry and came out of the pillar because he was suffering. My devotees being tormented and tortured by this heinous terrorist, right? So imagine how much Lord cares for you when you try to establish a relationship with him. So this is the beauty of personal worship, hmm? As opposed to the impersonal worship, जिसमें कोई relationship नहीं है. So always transfer that. जो आपका अपने बच्चे के साथ relationship है, think of that with the Lord and devotees, how much he would love you. So look at this. So although the man who has fallen in ocean may struggle very hard, he may be very expert in swimming, he cannot save himself. But if someone comes and picks him up from the water, he's easily rescued. Similarly, Lord picks up the devotee from this material existence. So you just surrender to him. That's why Krishna's last instruction is to surrender to me. Surrender to Sambhava, the personal absolute truth. And I will take care of it. He says, do not worry, no fear. Ma Shucha. कोई इतना बड़ा बंदा आपको बोल दे, do not worry, what else do you need? He says, आप अपनी एफर्ट से नहीं निकल सकते यहाँ से, but I will take you easily, like Nagarjuna Prabhu shared before 7.16, नहीं, one of those, that you cannot get out of this material world with your own efforts. My material energy is very strong. It will keep you trapped here. So I will take you. So establish a relationship with the Supreme. And how can you do that? By hearing Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And then this verse number 14 that we read today talks about knowing both of them together so that we understand the nature of this material world and we develop this desire to get out of here and develop a desire to establish a relationship with the Supreme. If we are immersed in this world and we do not understand its true nature, we will not have the hankering to establish a relationship with Supreme. तो भगवत गीता क्या करती है, वो हमें बताती है कि भगवान कौन है, उनके साथ हमारा क्या रिलेशनशिप है, ताकि हमारा मन करे इस दुनिया से निकल के उनके साथ रिलेशनशिप बनाने को. इसलिए हमें दोनों की नॉलेज चाहिए, ये जगह कितनी बेकार है और वो जगह कितनी बढ़िया है, वो भगवान कितने बढ़िया है और यहाँ पे कितना प्रॉब्लम है. When we understand that, then we will have a desire to establish relationship with the Supreme, and that's why we need to know both. So ये कई बार लोगों को समझ नहीं आता कि क्यों दोनों चीजें चाहिए. So this is various things that Bhagavad Gita also covers, that in material world, no matter how much you try to obtain deathlessness, you cannot become deathless. Your body will go through the 6 changes. And no matter how much you want, 4 problems of birth, death, disease, old age will come. And the 3 modes of material nature will control you. And the soul will have to leave this body and transmigrate. So these concepts are clear. These understanding about asambhuti is clear in this material world. Anyone knows these 6 changes, 6 transformations? Who can? Yeah, you can just try to guess.
I can.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Can I?
Yes, Prabhuji.
The born, grow, sustain, then reproduce, then dwindle, and then vanish.
Yes. Wonderful. Hari bol. Very nice.
Hare Krishna.
So these 6 transformations are a must. So Prabhupada has opened this purport by talking about deathlessness, that people are trying to achieve deathlessness by artificial means, but they're trying to make this body deathless. So they don't have the understanding of asambhuti. They don't understand that material body, material world cannot become eternal, cannot become deathless. The 6 transformations will happen. So we have to get this basic understanding of material world. इसलिए फालतू में they're wasting their time trying to make this body deathless or free of old age or coming up with artificial treatments and injections and so many things to just prolong the life and whatnot. But actually these 6 bodily changes will happen. So instead of wasting your energy on asambhutis, understand the nature of asambhuti and spend time on cultivating sambhuti. So ye para ya para prakriti, this concept comes in 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So para is the spiritual energy of Lord, apara is the material energy of Lord. Prabhupada has also talked about temporary material planets. So we should understand how there are so many planets. How many planets are there in one universe? How many, according to Vedic knowledge, how many planetary systems are there? Each universe.
Is it 14?
14. And this picture gives you the 14 planetary systems. So we have 7 above us and 6 below us, and we are Bhulok in the middle. So we have 14 planetary systems. And which verse? Okay, who can quote the verse? Sorry, I'm spending time on some Bhagavad Gita just to revive your memory. जब हम बच्चे थे, याद है जब हम छोटे थे, हम भगवद गीता पढ़ते थे, तो हमने कुछ पढ़ा था. What verse says कि ब्रह्म लोक से लेके भूलोक और पाताल लोक तक you will keep circulating in this material world.
Bhuvna
या
Bhuvna
ब्रह्मा
Loka.
भुवनालोक का.
Yes, प्रभु.
चाहिए प्रभु जाके या ब्रह्मा
अभी मैं
भुवनालोक
और
का.
verses पूछ लूंगी, so everyone will have turn. It's okay. हाँ.
पुनरावर्तन या ब्रह्मा भुवनालोक का पुनरावर्तन अर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते.
Rebol. 3 times a rebol for Prabhuji for answering so many questions correctly. Rebol, Rebol.
Haribol,
Wonderful.
Haribol.
Or so this was right, perfect. And acha, so let me see. And then so all these planetary systems will keep circulating, right? Acha. Then Krishna Prabhupada has mentioned 3 avyakta or unmanifest states, 3 annihilations. So let's see who can answer before we show the slide. What are the 3 avyaktas or unmanifest states? 3 annihilations.
It's the night of Brahma.
Right? So when the Brahmaji's day ends, every night there is an annihilation. So only Brahma Loka, so not the whole material world, Brahma Loka remains, everything below that is vanquished. अब ऐसे सोच लो कि जैसे रात होती है, हम लाइट बंद करके चले जाते हैं ना घर कमरे की, सो या जैसे ऑफिस बंद करके चले जाते हैं. सो ब्रह्मा जी ने अपना ऑफिस बंद करके चले गए, तो ब्रह्मा जी और ब्रह्मा जी का लोका इज गुड, बट देयर आर नो, the office is closed, so there are no workers there, nothing. So all the living entities below that are annihilated. So that's one pralay or annihilation. What is this is mini pralay, जो छोटी प्रलय होती है. बस इनके टेक्निकल नाम्स भी हैं. फिर जो बड़ी प्रलय होती है, महाप्रलय, वो कब आती है? जब ब्रह्मा जी भी, ब्रह्मलोक भी खत्म हो जाता है, उसको वो कब आती है?
End of Brahma's life.
End of Brahma's life. So at the end of, and how long is Brahma's life? Revising बचपन के concepts.
100 years in that spiritual math. But
हाँ.
apna, yeah.
Yes.
But that goes in so many millions, Mataji. But 100 years
One
in
day
the
ऐसे बता
spiritual
सकते हो,
math.
one day of ब्रह्मा जी is equal to how much? जो भगवद गीता में बताया गया. One day of
I
ब्रह्मा जी
guess
is
it's
equal
something
to.
like 14.7 into 10 raised to power 14 or
नहीं, ये
something.
सब मत बताओ, क्योंकि because when you let's say you're talking to someone, you're preaching, how would you say what is
1000
the?
Chaturyugas.
हाँ, because that's how, you don't need to do calculations. You say 1000 chaturyugas. So basically 1000 cycles of 4 yugas is equal to 1 day of Brahma ji, and same is the night of Brahma ji. So जितनी time manifest रहता है, उतने time unmanifest भी रहता है. So and then तो एक तो इस तरीके से 3 अव्यक्त states are mentioned. The third is spiritual realm that exists even when all material universes are vanquished. So when everything is gone into the body of Mahavishnu, spiritual realm still exists. So बाकी एक दो तरह की अव्यक्त states ऐसे भी बताई जाती हैं, that every
I
moment.
can't hear. I don't know. Maybe okay, I can hear you now. Okay, I don't know what.
Sorry. Anyway, so that was just the basic knowledge of Sambhuti and Sambhuti. So let's hear from. So then in the end, this verse was saying Sambhutya Amritam Ashnute, that people that understand both will be able to transcend this death. Actually, those are the really intelligent people, more than the scientists who are creating artificial means of deathlessness, because these people will be able to transcend death and attain immortality, because they will understand material world is very temporary, it is ephemeral, it is not my place, it will annihilate, it will unmanifest at any time. I go through the cycle of birth and death. I'm tired of being stuck here. I want to go to the place of eternality, spiritual true bliss and knowledge. Satchidanand रूप चाहिए, सच्चिदानंद जगह चाहिए. So that person will then be able to properly engage in bhakti, go back to Godhead, be able to take shelter of Krishna, surrender, and attain eternal life. And there is no other way. Okay, so questions. Where in Bhagavad Gita Krishna says कि मेरा devotee ही या devotional process से ही मुझे समझा जा सकता है, there is no other way. तो कोई different कोई quote कर सकता है? Okay, yes, Nagarjuna Prabhu.
भक्त्या मामपि जानाति यावन्युक्तस्मि तत्त्वता ततो मां तत्त्वतो ज्ञात्वा
पिछली बार we
विष्टे
forgot
तद्
the last
अनन्तरं
line.
yeah.
Last class also we forgot the last line. यही है विष्टे तद अनंतरम, है ना? अनंत इसको वो cross कर जाएगा. Okay, this was 18.55. और कोई verse where Krishna says कि only by devotional from Bhagavad Gita. वैसे Bhagavatam is full of it, full of this. So I'm not even. Just want to know Bhagavad Gita verse where Krishna says. Or could something similar like by achieving me there cannot be birth again. ऐसा कुछ verse. You will not come back to this world. How about something like that? There are so many like that. If you okay, where does he promise you will never come back to this world again? ऐसे कोई 2-3 वर्ड्स. So do you know this one?
The last line is Puna Jalva na Virtate. That one.
वो तो
Puna
आप
Jalva
ब्रह्मा
na.
भुवनाल लोग होगे.
अच्छा okay.
Okay, what about this
अच्छा.
one? बहुत सारी हैं. So like for example, ना तद्भास्यते सूर्यो ना शशांको न पावका यद गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धामा परमं मम. वो तो भगवान के सुप्रीम अबोर्ड की बात हो गई. So थोड़ा डिफरेंट हो गया. How about this one? जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम एवं यो वेति तत्वता ततो मां तत्वतो ज्ञात्वा क्या ततो मां
Janma
च मे
जन्म
दिव्यम
कर्म च मे
एवं वेति
दिव्यम
तद्वता.
एवं योग तत्वता
त्यक्त्वा देहं
त्यक्त्वा
पुनर्जन्म
जन्म
मामेति स्वर्जना.
त्यक्त्वा नायति मामेति so Arjuna. Okay, good. And then what about ye? Okay, this is the one I was asking actually. 11th chapter. Bhaktya tva ananya shakya aham eva vidu Arjuna ज्ञान्तुं द्रष्टुं च तत्त्वेन प्रवेष्टुं च परन्तपा. Bhaktya tva ananya shakya. Only my devotee can know me. Aham evam vidu Arjuna. Only my devotee can know me as I am. Gyantum drashtum cha tatvena. He can know about me, drashtum. He can see me as I am. Praveshtum cha parantapa. And enter into my abode. Sinless one. So, in this way, there is that one. In 8th chapter, there is a verse where Krishna says that yam prapyana nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Having reached there, you will never come back to this material world again. So there are many verses like that. And then he talks about dukkhalyam, right? Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalyam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanam samsiddhim paramam gatam. So many. Ultimately, the point is that only a devotee can know Krishna. Only by Krishna's mercy one can know him. One should understand the true nature of the soul, true nature of this world. We are not part of this world. We need to get out of here, and we can get out of here by devotional service, by hearing and reading and chanting about the Lord, and it's a joyful process. We should not take up the process of impersonal worship, and the other lower paths that are mentioned in various other scriptures are for different type of consciousness. But once you come in contact with knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, then you don't need to look back. You keep moving forward, because there is a reason why you are here now in this path of Ananya Bhakti, Keval Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti, pure devotional service, right? So there are it's without any desires, without any fruitive hankerings or anything. No fruitive aspirations, etc. Okay, I'll stop here. Let's hear from everyone. So this finishes the concept of Sambhuti versus Asambhuti. And next one, what is going to start? Let me show you. Let me show you the verse. This will really rope you in. क्योंकि अब जो है डिवोटी वो भगवान से डायरेक्टली बात करना शुरू करेगा. अब ये डिवोटी क्या बोलेगा भगवान को? वो कहेगा Your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. मुझे आपका face देखना है, मुझे आपका चेहरा देखना है. आप पर उसके चेहरे पर एक हिरण्मया पात्रेना, एक गोल्डन इफल्जेंस है जिसकी वजह से मैं देख नहीं पा रहा. बोलते हैं ना अल्लाह का नूर, तो नूर है जिसकी वजह से मैं फेस नहीं देख पा रहा. आप वो कवरिंग हटाओ तो मैं आपका फेस देखना चाहता हूँ. And then next one also he says, again he says the same thing. Please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. So I want to see that face. So बहुत ही मजेदार है ये next two verses. और उसके बाद वाली भी so now in next 4 verses जो बची हैं, he will talk directly to the Lord. He will ask for certain things in the end he will ask for certain things for time of death, कि at the time of death जब मेरी मृत्यु आएगी तो प्लीज आप ये करना, ये याद रखना ही वो. So वो कुछ अपील करेगा लॉर्ड को कि जब मृत्यु का टाइम आएगा तो आप क्या करना, और अभी वो अपील कर रहा है कि मेरे को आपका फेस देखना है. So very 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 nice. Last 4 verses are remaining. We'll finish them in hopefully 2-3 classes at the most. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Please share any questions.
Mataji, I had one question. I was listening to your class, the last one that I could not join. It's kind of a question and curiosity also. Like I have heard from some of the satsanga that as long as a person don't get the guru, like some of them, like say, some of them are really fortunate to come in contact with Krishna consciousness and get the Mahamantra and they start chanting. But a lot of people are still not that fortunate. And if they don't have a guru and they have an intention to find a guru or connect to the Supreme Personality, any name they chant, it will help them to find the, I mean, it will help them the process of getting the guru. And once the guru gives them whatever the mantra, then they should not chant any other name. But till they have the no guru and no guru given mantra, any name will help them to process, like grow in bhakti. So I was like, and then your class that is Sambhuti and Asambhuti, I was listening, and then I was kind of it was going in my head like, you know, अगर किसी को गुरु नहीं मिला है, अगर वो चाहता है भक्ति करने, तो किसी का भी नाम अगर जपता हो, जैसे ओम नमः शिवाय भी बोल रहा हो या देवी माँ का भी बोल रहा हो या गणपति भी बोल रहा हो, तो क्या अगर उसका इंटेंशन है कि हमको भक्ति में बढ़ना है, तो क्या होगा माता जी? Like, is there any like discussion on any platform?
Yes,
अब लेकिन
Prabhuji.
एक बार जब गुरु मिल जाए तो गुरु ने जो दे दिया बीज मंत्र जिसको बोलते जो भी, then he or she doesn't have to change the name. That mantra only will take him गुरु कृपा से भगवान के पास लेके जाए. So that was one thing, that one of the सत्संग सुनते हैं कि बहुत लोगों का, तो उसमें से एक ऐसा सुना मैंने.
हाँ, yes, Prabhuji, very nice question. मैं थोड़ा सा अपनी तरफ से जो मुझे पता है will answer, and maybe Nagachand Prabhu can add, and Sheetal Mataji, Poonam Mataji, any thoughts. So, Prabhuji, जैसे जो हम अभी path follow कर रहे हैं, जैसे since you are connected with ISKCON, so it's actually very simple. I don't know, I can't speak for other organizations outside, लेकिन I can speak for ISKCON. So actually it's very straightforward. Because Prabhupada is our preeminent Acharya. He's the preeminent Acharya. So once you get connected to ISKCON, Prabhupada has, and Mahaprabhu has freely given, in Gaudiya tradition, Hare Krishna Mahamantra has been given freely to all the people, all devotees. So if you are, and you know that, you know, if you're following this path, then it is recommended that you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but it is possible that you may have allegiance, like जैसे आप पहले से कुछ कर रहे थे, है ना, ओम नमो शिवाय chant कर रहे थे, आप जो भी कर रहे थे chant. So you can keep doing those things, but they will, you know, we often talk about practicality of that. One, there is not enough time in life. So if you have understood that this is the supreme path, then why even keep yourself distracted in something else? So जैसे कि deliberately क्यों अपने आप को अपना time भी spend करना है किसी और activity पे और distract भी करके रख रहे हो? So it keeps a confusion in the mind also, because a mind wants to confuse us and you're giving it a reason to stay confused. So एक practical point ये भी है कि time भी नहीं है इतना. So once you have developed some understanding of knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and you understand that Krishna is Supreme Lord, then Prabhupada has recommended to chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and slowly develop attachment to these names. Then you will attract the Guru also from this sampradaya if you really believe, have faith in the Gurus of this sampradaya, right? If you think they are qualified, you will slowly develop faith and gradually develop your allegiance to them. लेकिन अगर हम वो भी करते रहेंगे तो एक तो हम डाइल्यूटेड रहेंगे, फोकस होके नहीं कर पाएंगे, और इस संप्रदाय के लिए फेथ भी बहुत ज्यादा आएगा नहीं, टाइम लंबा लगेगा. सो हम अपने आप को, जब एक बार ये समझ आ गया कि टाइम बहुत कम है ह्यूमन लाइफ में, तो फिर क्यों डाइल्यूट करना है, क्यों देर लगानी है और इधर उधर भटकना है, कंफ्यूज होके क्यों रहना है. शुरू शुरू में समझ आता है, जैसे जब हमें कोई फेथ नहीं है, अभी हमें कृष्णा में हमें भी ये भी फेथ नहीं है कि कृष्णा इज द सुप्रीम लॉर्ड, या ये भी फेथ नहीं है कि कोई दूसरी लाइफ भी होती है कि नहीं, मे बी दिस इज द ओनली लाइफ आई गेट. So maybe I don't have faith in knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, but once you're fixed in this knowledge, I know I'm a spirit soul, I'm eternal, I don't want to come back to this material world. Krishna has promised time and time again in Bhagavad Gita, I will take you out of here. So why not just surrender to him? तो जब ये फेथ आ जाए तो बस फिर हरि नाम पकड़ लो, और फिर संप्रदाय में भी फेथ आएगा, फिर उसी संप्रदाय के गुरु भी अट्रैक्ट कर पाओगे आप. कृष्णा विल सेंड यू अ गुरु. लेकिन जब आप इधर उधर होंगे तो कृष्णा ऑल्सो सीज कि अभी इसकी मन नहीं है, अभी कंफ्यूज्ड है, तो और थोड़ी प्योरिफिकेशन होनी है और थोड़ी मेहनत लगेगी. लेट हिम बी मोर फर्मली सिचुएटेड, एंड देन वन डे, सो वी आर delaying the process of finding the guru will come when we are ready, and so that just shows that we are not ready. So that is another way we are showing to Krishna we are not ready, because we are still interested in other names or other paths. तो फिर गुरु
Correct, Mataji. Agree. Yeah, I mean, it was not my personal. मेरे लिए by now I think I have so much mercy that I know I was following पूजा भक्ति जो भी है, तो करीब करीब जहां तक हम जानते हैं, एटलीस्ट 30-35 ईयर्स से हम कर रहे हैं. आज के डेट में तो देयर इज नो कंफ्यूजन, बिकॉज आई हैव द मर्सी दैट आई गॉट कनेक्टेड टू डायरेक्टली विथ इस्कॉन एंड भगवद गीता सब पढ़ रहे हैं. बट देर आर सम पीपल हु हैज नॉट बीन कनेक्टेड येट, एंड उनको भी वैसे वो भी कोई भी नाम लेके जप कर रहे हैं. तो उनका क्वेश्चन था उन लोगों का कि अगर हम कोई भी नाम जप करते रहे जब तक हमको गुरु नहीं मिलता है, तो क्या हम भक्ति मार्ग में आगे बढ़ेंगे? तो वो महाराज का कहना
धीरे.
था कि हाँ, जब तक गुरु नहीं मिलता है करते रहो, जब मिलेगा तो अपना जो बताएंगे वो करना.
हाँ, वही स्लोली
या
बढ़ेंगे ना वो लोग. फिर
हाँ
उनको फिर ऐसे ही बोलते हैं कि आप भगवत गीता पढ़ो, क्योंकि अभी भगवत गीता में ही फेथ नहीं आया. इसका मतलब अभी
हाँ
यही फेथ
हाँ,
नहीं आया कि
वो है.
कृष्ण
हाँ,
सुप्रीम लॉर्ड है, और ये फेथ नहीं
यस
आया कि
यस,
कोई और पाथ की जरूरत नहीं है. जब ये फेथ आएगा तब वो व्यक्ति हरि नाम पे उसकी निष्ठा आ
समझ
जाएगी.
में आएगा. यस यस, क्योंकि भगवत गीता में बहुत मैंने एवरी टाइम दिमाग में घुस जाता है कि और कुछ करने का जरूरत नहीं है, और भगवान इतना इजिली बताते भी है कि जो करता भी है उसकी थोड़ी सी बुद्धि अभी और विकसित नहीं हुई.
हम्म
जो विकसित है वो मेरा ही जपे
हम्म
और मेरे पास ही आएगा. ये
कृष्ण से
वो तो है.
एक
या
एक बार कहते हैं अल्पमेधशा डेमिगॉड वर्शिप को, और फिर व्हेन ही सेज इन पर्सनल वर्शिप ही सेज अबुद्धया. चलो उनकी तो लेस
हाँ,
इंटेलिजेंस है डेमिगॉड वाले की, इम्पर्सनल वाले को तो कहते हैं बुद्धि ही नहीं है, अबुद्धया. ये भगवत गीता
वो
में दिस आई डिस्कवर्ड
हाँ,
नाउ, लाइक आफ्टर इतनी ज्यादा डिटेल में घुस के पढ़ने के बाद भी आई कीप गेटिंग न्यू थिंग्स. दिस इज द ब्यूटी
करेक्ट.
ऑफ
यस
भगवत गीता.
यस, दैट इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ भगवत गीता. ये सबके
हम्म,
साथ होता है माता, सबके साथ होता है.
हाँ
एक ही श्लोक को बाद में रिविजिट करने से उसका कुछ और समझ में आता है, कुछ और वर्ड दिख जाता है.
हाँ.
दैट इज, या दैट इज देयर.
so
या वो तो भगवत गीता का ब्यूटी है. यस.
अच्छा, एक क्वेश्चन मैं आपसे पूछती हूँ, या नागार्जुन प्रभु आंसर कर सकते हैं, जो भी. जो आपने तो ये क्वेश्चन पूछा कि जब गुरु मिलेंगे वो आपको मंत्र देंगे एंड यू कैन फॉलो दैट. अगर हम गुरु ना हो हमारे इस लाइफ में, और हम हरि नाम जप करते रहें, तो क्या हम भगवान के धाम पहुंच सकते हैं? हम गुरु नहीं कर हमारे, जैसे unfortunately we had to leave the body before we got initiated. Like I have seen some people getting initiated on their deathbed. Like I've seen Radhanath Maharaj do some initiations on their deathbed. क्यों ऐसी क्या अर्जेंसी आ गई कि वो उनको ऐसे कर रहे हैं? ये तो हरि नाम कई सालों से जप कर रहे हैं, पहुंच जाएंगे भगवान के धाम. तो कोई
आई
भी.
कैन
हाँ
Yeah,
बिल्कुल.
I think I have the answer, and you may add it to. The synonyms और इसका एनालॉजी यही है कि बिना गुरु के भगवान के पास नहीं पहुंच पाएंगे. हरि नाम भी करते रहेंगे और हम भी है. It's like having a phone and having a service provider, but unless I get the monthly plan and pay, I won't get the connection from the different people. So this monthly plan is like a guru. So even if I have this body and I have the name, but to connect, I need the guru. Guru is the only madhyam which will take me to him. So without guru, वो धाम नहीं पहुंच पाएंगे माता जी. फिर वापस आना पड़ेगा.
Yes, perfect understanding. मैं आपको ये वर्ड्स दिखाती हूँ because this is so amazing. So in 7.23 में Krishna is talking about devta worship. Okay, so he says अल्प मेधसाम. ठीक है, जिनकी अल्प, बिल्कुल सिंपल, संस्कृत भी बिल्कुल सिंपल है. Those of small intelligence will
अल्पमेधिया.
worship devi devtas. Okay, this is 7.23. 2 verses बाद he talks about कि ना हम प्रकाश सर्व, सबको नहीं मैं प्रकाश सर्वस्य, सबको नहीं मैं दिखाई देता या पता चलता, मेरी फॉर्म मैनिफेस्ट होती, क्योंकि माय फॉर्म इज हिडन बाय योग माया. मूड कौन लोग हैं? यो माम अजम अव्ययम, वो उनको तो मैं अनइंटेलिजेंट मानता हूँ, फुलिश मानता हूँ. एक सेकंड, देयर वाज समवेयर ही सेड अबुद्धया आल्सो, फुलिश एंड अनइंटेलिजेंट, यही था शायद. हाँ, दिस वन. हाँ, ही सेज जो मुझे अव्यक्त समझते हैं उनको मैं अबुद्धया मानता हूँ. सो 7.23 he said अल्पमेधसा for demigod worship, and for avyakt worship he said abuddhya, so no intelligence. So this is again consistent with Isopanishad concept of. So see how like our
Correct, yeah.
scriptures are speaking the same
और
thing.
जैसा आपने बोला कि भगवत गीता माने एकदम सबको, जैसे शुरू तो भगवान ही बोले हैं सब जगह. इवन लाइक शंकराचार्य भी बोले हैं कि दूध का निचोड़ है. जो इसको नहीं पिया, जो इसको नहीं समझा, बाकी समझने का माने ये टाइम ही लगेगा. इसमें इसको जो मेडिटेट करते रहेगा, पढ़ते रहेगा, बहुत क्लैरिटी आती है. लेकिन हाँ, बिना गुरु कृपा का कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. गुरु का कृपा होगा तभी भगवान अपने पास बुलाएंगे.
Okay, I think we can stop today. Thank you everyone for joining. वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालय कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः. श्री ईशोपनिषद की जय. जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories.
हरे कृष्णा.